This podcast represents the opinions of the hosts of the Laugh Cry Club and guests on the show. The content here should not be taken as medical advice and is for informational purposes only. And because each person is so unique, please consult your healthcare professional for any medical questions. Views and opinions expressed in the podcast are our own and do not represent that of our places of work. While we make every effort to ensure that the information we share is accurate, we welcome any comments, suggestions, or correction of errors. Welcome back to the club. This is the Laugh Cry Club. I am so excited. This is episode 2. I feel like right after we recorded episode 1, I was ready to jump into episode 2. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you for supporting us. We've had wonderful feedback so far, and we cannot thank you enough. Thank you for choosing to press play on this wonderful podcast with Chelsea, Rebecca, and me, Joy. If you're new, go back and listen to episode 1. We do a wonderful little intro of who we are and why you should be listening to this podcast. Hello, everybody. How's everyone doing? Rebecca, how was your week? How are you feeling about episode 2?
I am super excited to be here again with everybody. I'm just ecstatic to be here with you two and our audience. Can't wait to hear more questions from our audience as we continue to grow. So send your questions in. We'll be happy to answer them. Chelsea, how about you? How are you doing?
I would say it has been like a complete shit show week. So it has been all the combinations of laughing, crying, and living off of adrenaline. And how do I feel about being here? I feel amazing being here. This is actually like a really safe landing pad being with both of you. And the feedback that we've gotten from others has been just really amazing and awesome and comforting. So being vulnerable, putting yourself out there is really hard. Thank you for the grace and compassion and support.
Yeah, thank you, everybody. And thank you so much for the people who've already submitted the stars in Spotify. Please, 5 stars only. We don't need to know if you hated it because really, we bless you on your way. We just bless you on your way. By the way, I'm submitting the feed of the podcast to all of the podcasts apps out there. If you want a specific podcast feed or app that you use, just email us laughcryclub@gmail.com and we will get that submitted to that feed. But so far, it's really funny because Apple is one of the most popular podcast apps out there and they take the longest to kind of like grab the show and publish it. So patience, but it will be on all the feeds. So thank you guys so much. And whatever app that you listen on, please leave us a rating or review or even a comment. And again, like Rebecca said, you can email us questions, laughcryclub@gmail.com, and we will answer them as much in as much detail as we can. But let's just start off by talking a little bit too about some topics that we reviewed last week. I really was listening to the episode and I was editing and I thought, oh my gosh, there was a backstory that Chelsea forgot to tell us. So I know this is kind of going backwards a little bit. And if you didn't listen to episode 1, please go back and listen. But Chelsea, can you tell us the backstory? We were talking about Rebecca's situation in line about a person who was anxious about the size of their bag going into a venue. So can you share yours?
Yeah. So my daughter was, I think, 9 and is a huge Taylor Swift fan. And I bought tickets for us to go to Taylor Swift.
As am I. I'm a Swiftie.
Yeah. So she was, we were dressed. We had like a full dinner date. It was the whole thing. And we showed up and we got in line and they were doing the bag check. So a little back history. My daughter's never been to a concert where you paid to go in. My husband's in the music industry. She has only gone through the back, sat on stage.
Oh my gosh, that's right.
Backstage, been in the mix. So
that's right. Tell really quickly, like your husband's job, so people have like a context of why she got to be in the backstage.
So his humble response is, "I'm a roadie."
Oh, okay.
He's an audio engineer. So when you go to a concert and you see a big, tall, handsome man on stage behind all the sound stuff, he is the guy who's doing all of that. So we're in line and my daughter starts getting very anxious. And she's like, I just don't understand why we're all these people. Why are we in line? I don't understand this bag thing. Like, what's happening? And I realized that my purse is too big. Like, this purse is not making it in because I too have been privileged and spoiled.
You never have to go through the front.
No, I have not been through the front since in many years. because I'm claustrophobic. I don't really love being in the crowd with a concert. And so when my husband was like, oh, I do, music for a living, I was like, oh, that's like sounds very claustrophobic. He's like, well, not if you stay up on stage and sit with me. And then I've been spoiled ever since. So we're in line. She's having a full panic, anxiety. I realize I can't bring in the purse. So I'm thinking I'm going to make it easier. And I'm like, who cares about the purse? I'll just throw it out. Like, I'll just put the stuff in like the plastic bag that they're giving everybody and be done with the purse. So then she starts sobbing even more. And she's like, I just don't understand. You're throwing out the purse. And I thought we were going to be meeting Taylor Swift. And I'm like, Daddy doesn't work for Taylor Swift. And she's like, I'm just not understanding any of this. And she's having a full on meltdown. So I call my husband and I'm like, I don't really know what to do. I don't know what to do. So he gets on the phone and he's like, baby, guess what? You get to sit in the audience with everybody. You can eat whatever food you want to buy. You get to be immersed in the experience. And he's going on and on. And so he talked her off the ledge and she was really excited and we had the best time ever. But now I'm the paranoid bag person, like Rebecca's anxious lady in bag.
Oh my gosh.
Like if I go to a festival, I'm like, is this bag okay? Is this going to be okay? Am I going to have to throw out like my good handbag? And so sad story.
So that's you behind me
Yeah.
when I stand in line. I never know because I don't turn around because I don't want to get involved in people's business. But it's actually Chelsea behind me in all these lines.
Chelsea and Chelsea's daughter.
And I'm trying to probably sneak something in that like I'm not allowed to have. I'm probably bringing in something that I'm not allowed to have.
So you did throw the purse away.
I did throw the purse away and I used a plastic clear bag that they gave you.
Was this like a Louis Vuitton purse?
No.
Kate Spade?
No, it was probably like a purse from Ross. It was not an important purse or any purse it was not a big deal to throw out the purse.
That's good to know. Because I guess if it was like Kate Spade or something, then that would have,
that would have been a loss. Yeah.
Okay. If that was it, then the story would have ended with, and after the concert, I dumpster dove to go find that good handbag. Yes. But that was not the story. Womp, womp,
I mean,
womp.
that is, I have a real problem with leaving things behind. I have this weird attachment to not in a way where I have too much stuff, but I don't like to just throw things away if I have to. Like in that situation, I would have been so devastated about letting go of a bag. An example, this is a real laugh cry moment for a lot of people who out there who don't know me. I raise service dogs as a volunteer job. So I raise them from puppies to adult. When they're about 16 months old, I take them to college, is what we call it. It's like an advanced training program where the trainers then do their magic and determine their journey as a service dog. And they go on to be a service animal or PTSD service animal or a hearing dog. Anyway, so I was on my way back from turning in a dog. It was the first dog that we raised, and it was just so emotional for me. And so on the way back, I was like just teary, and we had just dropped her off. And I go through security once, and I get to the terminal. And I don't know if anyone is familiar with the San Diego airport, but the terminal is really sweet. But when it's busy, it is a nightmare. It is so packed, kind of like elbow to elbow, no place to sit, really small. And I immediately got through the terminal or, to the gate. And I was like, I have way too much time. I'm not spending it with all these people. So I went back out past security again, and I got some food and I filled my water bottle and I sat there and I had a nice little meal without all these people around. Well, then I'm like, okay, I guess I got to go back to my gate. So I walk up to security again, and my water bottle is full with water because I'd already been through security. So in my brain, I'm like, I already emptied my water bottle, but because I had gone back out and came back in. And so I'm in this emotionally raw state. And the TSA guys are like, well, your water bottle's full. And I just felt like the stupidest person because, it's like, that is like TSA 101 to not have water when you go through TSA.
Right.
And now you're like that annoying person where people are like, oh my God, did she not see the 40
amateur hour?
Yeah.
Yes, it is amateur travel hour, which is something my husband says because he travels all the time. So he's always like, amateurs. Anyway, so he's like, well, you can go back and drink it and then come back through security again or whatever, or you can just toss it. And I was, that moment where you have to make a decision you just don't want to make, but you're just like, and I just said, toss it. And it was one of my favorite water bottles. It's so stupid. It was just a water bottle, but it was mine. And it had like all my favorite stickers on it. And thank goodness this was when masking was like really big in the airport and I had this mask on and I tossed it. But the second I got past security, I just bawled. And when I say cried my eyes out, I was inconsolable. And I was by myself because my husband had to go to another trip. So we separated at the airport. So I was by myself and I was crying so hard that people could tell that even though I had a full mask on, people were like, whoa, what is wrong with her? And I just went in the airport bathroom and I just cried my eyes out. And it was like just such a moment of sadness, like kind of where we've talked about, like where you just need something to set you off to release it.
Just like a little tiny opening of that valve, like
just a little. And I was already kind of like at the brink because turning in a dog is so emotional. And I was like, ugh. But I was like kind of past it and I was like, had it together. But that just little, or it's almost like, when people ask how you're doing when you're not okay and you just start crying. Like, don't ask me if I'm okay because I'm not okay. Anyway, that was a tangent from the backstory. But do we want to check in on the laugh cry of either of the week or of recent? I'm kind of realizing as we're going through this too, I'm like, ooh, a laugh cry moment, a lot of laughs, but there's a lot of emotions that we have as well. So if it's an anger moment, we can have those too, Does anyone want to go first or should we just kick it off with me since I'm talking about emotions?
I actually am going to nominate, since we're all equals, I'm going to nominate Rebecca.
All right. Okay. Chelsea likes to nominate every week. Okay.
I do want to nominate.
Yes.
And this week, my nominee is Rebecca. Off to you, Rebecca.
All right. So this is a laugh or a cry moment.
Or you could say I had one laugh and one cry and just share.
Yeah, you could do both. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because it is the Laugh Cry Club. There's two things, laughing and crying. Rebecca.
Well, I do want to go back to Joy's story for a second and say Joy is an amazing human being by raising these puppies. I've fostered dogs in the past, not service dogs, but it's incredibly difficult to raise them as puppies and then turn them over to a new owner, but especially for what Joy's doing, because she's doing training very hands-on with these puppies and you have them for I think maybe almost first year of their life. That is very hard to do. And that day had been really hard to get rid of your water bottle as well.
It's really
I feel you because especially when you have stickers all over your water bottle, it's very individualized. It's totally yours. And I don't understand why they just don't have a trash can that has no trash in it and you just dump your liquid in it.
Yes. Or like the water stuff that they give you at the beginning where they have that huge water tank. Anyway, yeah, thank you for that acknowledgement. It was very emotional.
Maybe when I become head of TSA, I'll make a
Great.
rule.
Thank you, Rebecca. I really appreciate that. And my future water bottles. Thank you.
I'm voting for Rebecca again, head of TSA. If you're listening, I just nominated my nominee.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I will accept your nomination for the head of TSA. So my cry moment was I watched this film, actually. It's on Apple TV. I don't know if anybody's watched Swan Song.
Mm-mm.
Wow. I didn't really know what it was about. And I started watching it and wow, it really got me. Great movie. I think it came out in 2021. So check it out. It's on Apple TV. A lot of great actors, actresses in it. But essentially what happens is this man, he has a terminal illness and he and his doctor have decided there's a program where they would clone you and all of your memories get stored in the clone. You end up meeting the clone, sharing all the memories. The clone does a trial at your house. Needless to say, at the end, you have to make the decision whether you are going to let this clone just go forward with your life. Well, you won't be there. And once that happens, the clone's memory is erased that it was created and whatnot, and it has all of your memories. So it's exactly like the person to a T. And it was really, really hard to watch because the actor had to make a decision. Do I let my family continue with me or choose to essentially let them grieve? So it comes down to this process of, do you let your family grieve a loss, knowing that you're gone, or do you choose to stop that grief process for them?
Oh,
and
brutal.
Brutal.
What a hard hard decision. And actually, we started talking about it at home, like what we would like, because, it's very hard because, people say I can never live without this person.
Right.
And, or even relationships, like when a relationship breaks up, it's like, oh, I can't live without you.
Yeah.
Or even when our pets die, we feel like we can't live without them. By making this choice of choosing to go ahead and have this clone be in their life, you create the situation where these people don't get to mourn a loss. So you take that away. But at the same time, you're also trying to relieve some pain. So it's just it was really interesting and sad, though I cried.
That sounds like a tearjerker for sure.
It was. I think there's just so many areas of that movie too, where it could be like a college course in a way too, about emotions and the human experience.
Yeah, maybe we should all watch it at some point and talk about it more. That's another one that it reminds me of in terms of just like making you think and feel. Have you ever seen the documentary Dear Zachary?
No.
So that's another one we'll talk about later. Maybe we can all watch it. It will make you completely go to a very emotional place, like to a point of just you very sad, but it's also beautiful, which is the laugh cry of life. It's beautiful and sad. That made you cry.
But I want to throw something in. With this one that I think is
Do it.
It's a fun tip. So when I used to work with like police officers or firefighters back when I had my practice, people did not want to go through their insurance because you couldn't have a diagnosis. And so it was like this really secretive thing. And a lot of the times these individuals, primarily men, would come in because their wives are like, you're completely emotionally shut off and like numb. And that was the prescription I would give them, is to watch a movie that would make them cry, because they could start to loosen those emotions in a way that felt like a reason to cry rather than all the vicarious trauma that they had suffered or the direct trauma. So,
oh my God, what a great idea.
I just wanted to throw that out there, that is, so you could watch Rebecca's movie that she watched, and that could be a really healthy, contained, cathartic release.
That's a great therapy tip.
I do draw the line at Marley and Me. I won't watch that. People didn't warn me about that one. And this was before I even had dogs. So anyway, did you have a laugh moment you wanted to share?
Yeah, I do. All right. Let me set the stage for you all.
I'm putting a spotlight on you. No one can see it.
Thank you. So the other day, I had about 10 minutes before a meeting I needed to attend. And I thought, I'm going to run out and get the mail real quick. So go out, and then I'm like, I see this bird on the ground. And this is very bizarre because they're not on the ground. And I thought, oh my gosh, this bird must be injured. I have to try to help it real quick because there's cats in the area and coyotes and things like that. So, I want to save the bird. So I'm checking the bird out, and it's panting, its beak is open, and it's got one wing out. And I thought, this bird's wing has to be broken. So it started hopping around, not flying off. So very strange behavior for a bird. I run inside and decide I have to save the bird. So I tell my wife, there's a bird out there. I think I need to find a wildlife rehabber for it. Can you start looking online? I go to the garage, try to find a box. I don't have anything, but I have a milk crate, and it has the handles and everything. So I put a towel in there. I get another towel, go outside. I'm trying to catch this bird. I don't know if anybody's ever tried to catch a bird.
Kind of difficult.
Kind of, yeah. I'm sure everybody in the neighborhood was like, what's happening? So I'm trying, and before I went outside, my wife said, be careful that you don't startle it because it could die. And then I'm like, trying to be super gentle.
Right. Now you're like, I want to kill this thing.
Wait a second. Rebecca, don't you have a big bird outfit? Why do I feel like you have a big bird outfit?
Because
I want one.
She wants one, but she photoshopped her face onto Big Bird with one of our work photos.
That's right. Because I'm like, why wouldn't you just trick the bird into it thinking that you were a bird and wear your costume?
That's going to be
was the bird.
You're assuming birds know what Big Bird is.
If I was dressed as Big Bird, that would scare the shit out of that robin. I'm sure.
Rebecca,
that would make the story even better.
I love the bird outfit. And now I know, Joy, the picture you're talking about and why I have this fictitious memory.
Yes. You're not wrong.
No, there is a Big Bird costume I would like to buy. So it's on my list. Finally get this bird, stick it inside the crate, and I'm like, well, I'm just going to cover it with a blanket, right, to keep it inside. It's not going to fly away. Next thing you know, it jumps out of the hole where your handle is for the crate. I'm like, oh no. I'm like, I had a meeting to get to. I'm trying to save you. Can you cooperate? So I'm back at it again. I'm trying to put the towel over it. And next thing I know, this bird just flies away.
It totally screwed
It
with
totally
you.
faked you out.
Totally.
Hold on, were you
I
late for
just-
your meeting because of this bird faking you out?
No, I was on time.
Of course you were.
Because, it gives me anxiety to be late.
Yeah.
But I'm so floored. I'm like, why is this bird on the ground acting like it has a broken wing?
It's so mean. Oh my gosh. Okay, Chelsea, do you want to go next?
Okay, so my cry, because this week has been a disaster, was in the hospital bathroom. It was one of those really ugly cries. You know, the silent cry where your mouth gets like frozen, like the jaw
I'm
lock.
laughing just because I'm like, I know.
It's so horrible. And then I
so-
was in the bathroom and I didn't want to sit on the public bathroom floor on the chemo unit because I don't think that was hygienic. So I was like trying to wash my face while I was ugly crying and trying to cry in silence because I'm overwhelmed. And my husband and I had what I will call a brave conversation. And sometimes when you are a couple and you have these really difficult, brave conversations, it comes out at really bad times. And that was a bad time where I was stuck in the hospital and in the bathroom, and it was awful. So I had an ugly cry. My laugh is my son heard our podcast and I said, Miles, what did you think? And he's like, Mama, it needs some work. I said, okay.
What? Miles.
And he's-
Excuse me, sir.
Miles.
Yes. So he started telling me how he could put in like these, like, it needs like animated effects with different noises and,
No.
and different that.
Oh, no.
And I said, well, Miles, our audience isn't probably kids your age. And he said, well, if it's for people your age, then I need to tell you what not to do. And I said, okay, what not to do? He said, first off, it's super cringy and nobody cares that you are Gen X. So don't bring up Gen X. And do not talk about cancel culture or getting canceled because I'm telling you, nobody cares. And I am crying, like bawling,
funny.
laughing.
Okay, so we won't talk about Gen X
No, or cancel culture because
or
it
cancel
is
culture.
cringy and
Mhm.
nobody cares. And I just thought,
I mean-
and listen, my son's like a Buddhist monk. He's the sweetest, most non-judgmental kid. So this coming from him, I was crying. Like
We've been essentially
tears.
canceled by your son.
Oh no, we're in because he's going to take over our social media.
Oh, yes. So you need to follow us on TikTok. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because
Watch out,
Miles is going to be
TikToker.
behind the TikTok.
That's right. So that was my laughing hysterical moment today.
Miles, we need to do better for you. I'm so sorry that we disappointed you. Now we have a goal to get Miles' approval.
Yeah, I'm curious. I mean, we are all Gen X here
Mhm,
currently.
mhm. Currently.
So
That is really cringy, Rebecca. You're being really cringy.
it's
according to
I have done some acceptance and commitment therapy, and I'm accepting that I'm Gen X, and I love every bit
Mhm,
about it.
mhm.
I love
So,
it too.
I mean,
I'm into it. But he said you just can't
Oh.
talk about it and then he showed me a video. Okay. And in his defense, the video he showed me today to support his evidence was a TikTok
Mhm.
video of this guy who was on more steroids than I've ever seen. He looked like the Incredible Hulk. He's fully tattooed, which I'm fully tattooed. I love tattoos. Maybe it's because I'm Gen X. I don't know. And he was in the camera and he was yelling about Eminem's new song and how this is a real Gen X thing. And he was going on and on and on. So that was what my son's example was of what not to do. So I think we're fine, but it was hilarious.
And how old is Miles again?
He's 15.
Okay. All right. Noted for our 15-year-old listeners, which
If you're 15 years old and listening, I just want to say thank you. Share and like and subscribe.
give us a 5-star rating on Spotify.
Hey guys, it's Chelsea, Joy, and Rebecca here. Welcome to the Laugh Cry Club. All right, I'm passing
Stay
it.
out of trouble. Don't drink and drive. Don't do drugs. Okay. Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
just say no.
Just say No,
That's a Gen X thing to say.
it is.
I thought the Gen X was the commercial at 10 o'clock. Like, do you know where your kids are? Do you remember that commercial? Because everyone was like a latchkey kid. So it was like, are your kids
Yes.
home tonight? Do you know? Okay. I'm doing what my son told me not to do. I'm passing it over to the next nominee, Joy.
Okay, thank you for the nomination. Cry. I kind of feel like I already talked about a cry story, so I don't want to go too much into it. I will say what made me teary this week. And I like to kind of preface this with our discussions of like being respectful of all of our belief systems and things that we want to put out into the world as all goodness and acceptance and love. But I did have a moment where, it was very exciting for me to see that there is a nominee for presidency that is, again, a woman and a woman of color. Because that happened so quickly, it just really made me excited and I cried. Happy tears because, and again, I really want this podcast to be inclusive of all belief systems and this is not to be like, oh, this is the only way, but I'm just saying think about an experience that you have where you're just like, wow, I have hope again, because I was just feeling really sad about the state of the world. And while we wanted to do this podcast, was to have discussions where it brings people in, that just in and of itself was a moment where I felt like excited and hopeful. And I've been really missing that feeling as far as the direction of our country. So that feels really happy. And I cried about that.
And let's just acknowledge how wonderful a woman. I mean, this is amazing.
Like my hands are sweaty talking
Amazing.
about it. You can see, I mean, I don't know if sorry to interrupt you, Chelsea, but I was like, I'm nervous to talk about that.
Because there's so much divisiveness. But if we're really objective and we just look at historically ever having a woman other than Hillary Clinton, right, who's ran for president, I mean, this is a shift into something that could perhaps be that kind of new normal where it isn't like, oh my gosh, I can't believe. But right now we're in that, oh my goodness, I can't believe excitement because it's not the normal candidate who's running.
Right.
And I think just being a woman, it hits hard in a really amazing way to see somebody who's, yeah.
I think that is what made me emotional, was just thinking that how normalized it is for women to not be in power. All the things that have been taken from women as far as our choices in the past couple of years, few years, 5 years. So many things have been taken from women. And that became a new normal where to process that for so long, I couldn't even think about it because it made me so upset. And I have been at times in my life where that type of stress really made me physically ill. And so I was like, I can't go there again. Anyway, this just gave me, for whatever happens, like it feels good to have that energy of hope. And that's what made me really emotional. The last story I'll keep brief too, because it's, I was trying to think of like a good one. I feel like I can't top, I feel like I peaked at Lil Soups last weekend.
Lil Soups was pretty
Lil
good.
Soups?
Yeah. Lil Soups, if you're listening, we are nominating you to be our first sponsor, supporting Butters, whose nickname is AKA Lil Soups.
He really does love his Little Soups. I have to buy them in bulk. So I feel like I peaked at Little Soups, but he's doing great. And so the thing that made me laugh this week, I think it is just more like a theme of the things that make you belly laugh with your really close friends. This is something that's so silly. I'll tell it and it kind of feels like, I don't know. I don't want to say like an inappropriate joke because it's not really, but you guys be the judge. I really like to watch The Housewives. I think it's just mindless TV that kind of numbs my brain. So for better, for worse, I watch The Housewives. The Real Housewives of Beverly Hills is kind of like one of my favorites. Kathy Hilton is like really funny in a way of like just that rich lady unawareness, is kind of like, wow, she doesn't get much because she doesn't live in the normal world. There's this part in Real Housewives of Beverly Hills where they're doing this fundraiser. One of the gals is like, again, this is just the name of it. It's not the cause. I'm not laughing about the cause. I want to make this very clear. I'm a therapist. I have a very nice heart. But the name of the fundraiser was Homeless Not Toothless. And all of these, Rebecca, your face.
Rebecca's face is talking. Her mouth is completely glued shut. If you could see her, there's this smile is no teeth, and her eyeballs and everything with wanting to. The whole face is yakking right now.
She's not toothless. So the ladies, these rich Beverly Hills ladies, are putting on this fundraiser for this cause that this one woman, one of the housewives, is very passionate about, and she keeps saying it's for homeless, not toothless. And every single housewife has that look that Rebecca just did, where she's like, what's the name? So Kathy Hilton. And again, this is something my best friend and I we were reliving this episode. It happened like 2 years ago. And we were just crying, laughing this week. Cause I was like, oh my gosh, I forgot about Homeless, Not Toothless. So there's this part where they're talking about this fundraiser and they're trying so hard to be serious about it. Like, this is a really big cause that I'm really passionate about. Kathy Hilton goes, what's it called? And they're like, Homeless, Not Toothless. And she looks like Rebecca looked and then she goes, oh, that's wonderful. She's trying not to be like, what is it called? Like, they couldn't come up with a better name.
Totally. That's Chelsea's pivot. Like, oh, that's a great joke. And then turn around.
Oh my gosh,
so we had a really
pivot.
good belly laugh, like reliving that episode because it's just so silly. It's so silly. And sometimes you just need those like stupid, silly jokes with your friends. So that was like a nice little steam of outlet of laughter.
I think those type of things that are inappropriate, right, that we laugh at are because, one, we're like, wow, that is so stupid. And if you don't laugh, you're going to be crying all the time, right?
Rebecca, you're so right. And I think not only if you don't laugh, you might be crying. I think that the bigger part of it is that it is that pivot of like, I can't even put time going down this, all the things that are wrong with this, all the things that are not okay with it. Because if we have to really be intentional with our energy, right? Like, energetically, what am I willing to give and how does this matter? And so I think kind of going back like full circle to really that human connection and things like that, we have to decide what actually matters. And maybe in that moment for her, the relationship mattered more than saying how that was inappropriate. That was the pivot, right? Because you're not going to convince somebody who's that disconnected. You're not going to give them any feedback that's going to help them see how that would be like a really bizarre, inappropriate name to give a fundraiser, right? It's just not going to happen. So you have to choose where you're going to give your energy. And I think that's where it's being intentional. And then we laugh because it's so physically uncomfortable that it's like, you have to do something. So if you're not going to say something, you almost just like laughing is silent is talking in a different way, maybe. I don't know if that's true.
Yeah, I totally get it. I mean, and then they kind of go off on tangents where they're talking about toothless, not homeless. And then because they couldn't get it right. And it just like kept going. And it was like, so silly. It was so silly.
Yeah. I don't even know what to say because I'm like, what?
I don't think you have to say anything. I think we just sit here in silence because we're clinicians and we're good at that. Awkward silence. We'll just sit here. I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
I'm totally
no,
kidding.
No, I'm just kidding. I'm totally kidding too. I do have a question on that same note as far as something that's a callback to last week. And then we can kind of wrap up with a story that you had about, I think it was it suppressing emotions or...
It was a suppressing emotion.
Oh, it was a suppressing emotions moment. Really quickly, when we were talking about the 90-second rule with emotions where you're like, emotions only last 90 seconds. I had this moment this week where I was like, sometimes I really can feel anxious for days. Like I can be worried about something and ruminating about something where I feel like the anxiety is just kind of like, whoo, like that day that I was telling everyone last week around selling the house and being anxious all day around showings. You know, that was definitely not a 90-second moment. So what do we do like when it starts to, how do you explain that piece? Is it that we're really just fighting against it? We're not like letting the emotion pass? Because sometimes I feel like it's not passing.
So anxiety is really like that vicious connection to thought, like it immediately connects to thought. And so with anxiety, the physical release is the biggest thing you could do. So if you want to get rid of that feeling of anxiety, you could go outside and run as fast as you can for that 90 seconds to physically release. So your breath is matching almost like the anxiety of a panic attack, right? It's that shortness of breath. And you get that when you exert a whole bunch of energy physically. Then after that, it is observation of the thoughts rather than believing the thoughts. And with anxious thoughts, it is it's so boring. And it becomes very laughable. It's like the same thoughts on repeat over and over and over and over again. So then the observation becomes that really being present, right? You observe it and you're like, oh, and now I'm going to think about how I can't pay my rent. And now I'm going to think about how that other bill is going to get. And now I'm going to think about what's going on at my job. And now I'm going to think it's so predictable. So when we observe it, somebody once described it to me as like you are a rock in in the sea and you're watching fish go by and then you see a shark. If you see the shark, you don't keep chasing the shark. You observe it and you watch it go by. And so that would be the observation part with the thought. So when we feel anxious, you could do that 90 seconds of breathing. If you do a 5 count breathing, you inhale for 5, hold for 5, and then you exhale for 10. The longer exhale starts to calm the nervous system. So again, we want to calm the nervous system. So then when those anxious thoughts come back that are going to hijack your body, you can start to address things cognitively as well. So you have 2 superpowers. You have 1 to physically release, and then you have 2 to start to observe things, because we have a fun fact that we have 60 to 80,000 thoughts a day. And if you believed all of them, guess what? You'd be crazy.
Yeah.
We'd all be completely insane. We think the craziest things all the time.
That's very helpful. It reminds me of kind of like the mindfulness moment where you're just kind of like watching the thoughts pass by too and not getting attached to them. Okay, that's helpful. Thank you.
Yeah, I would also say, Chelsea, you're completely right. When we're feeling anxiety, it feels terrible. So we immediately want it to stop. So we try to do everything to make it stop. But what we're doing is actually making the process longer. Like if we just allow ourselves to have the feeling and recognize, I'm really anxious right now, I don't feel very well, and let yourself have the emotion, you're likely to move through that faster instead of days. It's the days is when we're trying to control it and we're not doing a really successful job at it.
Rebecca, that is such a good call out, because you're building up distress tolerance to the feeling, because anxiety is awful. I mean, it's my least favorite feeling. It wakes me up at 4 a.m. I hate it. And you want to run out of your body. You want to go anywhere that isn't your body. And so building up that tolerance to it and not trying to control, because anxiety, you're right, Rebecca, or trying to control something that actually gives you a release, because excitement and anxiety actually are very similar feelings. So again, cognitively, you could work on what would be exciting about whatever your new house is that you're going to be moving into, right? Like you could shift that anxiety with the joy. I'm thinking of you selling your house. Like you can shift that into excitement, because they actually feel the same. When I've worked with people who are performers, like music performers or things like that, they'll be like, oh, I feel anxious. And so I sit down to meditate and then I have a panic attack. And I'm like, well, yeah, because that's very counterintuitive. We've got to release that first and then pump up to get excited.
I think about the excitement and anxiety being very similar. Sometimes it feels hard that your body can't, I don't know, it feels like your body can't catch up to, you're like trying to think of, okay, I'm excited about something. I recently listened to a podcast episode with Dr. Bernard Beckwith, who is the pastor at the Agape Church in Los Angeles. It's like he's a very wonderful speaker. It's not like majorly religious. I just really like his messages. And he talked about how, Chelsea, you'd love this because he's all about like manifesting and energy. And he said that when you're feeling either angry about something, whatever kind of negative emotion you want to get rid of. And it reminds me kind of almost like excitement, anxiety. Instead of being anxious about it, you get really excited about the thing you really want, as opposed to being anxious about the thing that you don't want. And I really, really like that too. So he gave a funny example of being angry about something that's really positive in his life, where he's like, I'm so mad that I have so much money. I thought that was really funny. I was like, well, that's one way to look at it. But just being excited about something that you're looking forward to and kind of like trying to channel that energy. Okay, we're going to finish with a story from Chelsea about shoving our emotions, and then we're going to finish for this week. So Chelsea, take it away.
Okay. So for all you moms out there, you might be able to relate to this. So my daughter is in volleyball. Volleyball is a very intensive sport and they expect a lot of parents' help. And this particular day, I was the volunteer. I was voluntold through the sign-up sheet to bring dinner for like 15 kids. And it was a day where my husband was really sick after he had surgery. I was like, there's no way I'm going to be able to put together a meal for 15 kids. I had a slammed work day. It just wasn't going to happen. So then I'm like, okay, I'll order all this food. So I order all this food to be delivered to my house, charcuterie board, and it's a Barbie fluorescent night theme for her volleyball tournament. So I get like pink, like Gatorades, purple Gatorades, like fun candy. I go all out. I am like, I've got this. I'm determined. And so I get a cancellation of one of my meetings. I'm so excited. I'm like, the universe is working in my favor. I race in my big giant Lincoln Town card named Betty as fast as I can to get to the school. I bring in these Trader Joe's bags so everything stays cold with ice. And I'm like, I am the mom who volunteered. I'm crushing it. This is for the kids. They're going to be so excited. Come back home, jump back into work, get off work. I have like 10 minutes to make it to the tournament, and it is Barbie themed. Luckily for me, I had been Barbie for Halloween. And so I had a whole Barbie outfit going on and like a Barbie bodysuit that said Barbie. I had some fluorescent stuff going on. I did my hair, the whole thing. So I then race in Betty as fast as I can to get to the tournament. Go to the tournament. It was a really bad tournament. It was intense. They didn't play well. Of course, my daughter's upset afterwards. And my girlfriend walks up and she has my blue Trader Joe's bags. Now, there is no Trader Joe's where I live. So I'm like, why do you have that? I think that's my Trader Joe's bag. She's like, oh, yeah, they were selling all these snacks out of the bag. And I'm like, what?
What?
Yeah. She's like, they're selling snacks. So I'm like, well, what do you mean they're selling snacks? Now, this is a moment where I have held in all the stress, right? My husband's had massive liver surgery. He's wide open. He'd had an infection. He's packing a wound. My kids are in all the extracurriculars. I'm working. I am swimming upstream and I am shoving these emotions in deep. So I dress as Barbie, start going, well, what do you mean they're selling this? So then I go up to the snack bar and I see another mom who I actually love, who's one of my friends. And she has my giant charcuterie board that has like not been eaten. And I think she's like going to take it home. And I'm like, why do you have this charcuterie board? She's like, oh, well, nobody ate it. And I'm like, and she looks at me and of course she's like horrified because I'm like, well, I bought that charcuterie board for the kids, blah, blah. So she like hands me the charcuterie board, which like, of course I don't want it. I ended up throwing it out. But in that moment of my rage of, I can't believe this, I like take their charcuterie board. Then I can see in the refrigerator those stupid purple Gatorades. And I was like losing it. So one of the other coaches comes over and she's like, well, I don't understand what's going on, blah, blah. I said, you guys are selling the snacks. I went out of my way after I drove and blah, blah, blah. I'm like, why didn't the kids eat this food? No wonder they played bad because they haven't had any dinner. She's like, well, somebody else brought dinner. I'm like, well, why would somebody else brought dinner? Why am I being, having to volunteer? I'm losing it. My daughter is already upset because she didn't play well. The team didn't play well. She's like crying already. And I'm dressed as psychotic Barbie. Like, I don't know how you can take me seriously. So
Mad Barbie.
the coach goes into the snack bar and I go and I follow her and we're in like a corner and she's like, nobody's selling your snacks. And, we're working really hard as coaches. And then here's where this is what I said. The only thing you should be saying to me right now is thank you. That's the only words that should be coming out of your mouth. And I will tell you, you're welcome. Not my finer moment. She started to talk and then I would like look back and be like, you're welcome. I heard your like this conversation's done. Then I got into the car. My daughter's horrified. I have this stupid charcuterie board. I can't find the other Trader Joe's bag. So I'm like, who else is taking the food that I bought? And I realized that it was not my day to bring dinner. And that's why another mom had already fed the kids because I saw it was the wrong day.
My goodness.
So I'm in that shame spiral. Can't even look at myself because all I see is the Barbie outfit, which is like ridiculous.
You look in the mirror and you're like, hi, Barbie.
And I came home and continued to like double down, like sat on the floor, sobbed, oh my God, I am out of control. Like that spiral of like, I embarrassed my daughter and like, I really like her other coach and I'm going toe to toe with these women. And now I know, because I believe in like owning your shit, I need to apologize. Like I was that combination of rage and shame and all the things. So those of you who are in the club, a little piece of advice, use the 90 seconds as much as possible so that you aren't dressed up as Barbie raging at your kid's event. And
but
that is the story.
You look real good doing it.
And I don't have a picture from that night, but I do have a picture of
I
the
was going to
Halloween.
ask.
I have a picture of the Halloween Barbie outfit. That it will not be exact, but it'll give you a little bit of an idea of how ridiculous I was.
Of how you're raging around in a Barbie outfit.
Oh,
Yeah.
it was so bad. Yeah, my daughter, I think it took her a while to get over that. I mean, it took me a while. And now the coach and I, of course, we're friends. We were friends before, and I told her, I ran to her the other day, and I'm like, I think this might come up on a shame moment. On Laugh Cry Club, and we were just laughing together, right? It's been a year and it's funny now. But in the moment, it was not funny. In fact, it was like a good week or two of just absolutely feeling like I was.
Like when you replay it, you're like, oh, cringe.
Yeah, the
but
ick. It was replaying the ick.
Ugh. Yes, we all know that feeling. Well, that's very human. Thank you for sharing that. That is what unites us all, is those moments of humanness. My coworker at another job used to have this like little painted rock on her desk that said, "Your humanness is showing." I always think about that because it's like, yeah, our humanness is showing. Well, thank you, friends. This has been another lovely hour of talking about laughing, crying, and all the feelings. Listeners, thank you so much for tuning in. You can follow us on Instagram. We have a great little Instagram page that is building at Laugh Cry Club. We're also on Facebook if you search Laugh Cry Club. Search us on all of the platforms for podcasts and share us with a friend if you like this episode. Really, the best way to support the podcast is to rate and review 5 stars. Like I said, if you really hated it. If you're like Miles and you're like, cringe, we bless you on your way. We're not everyone's cup of tea, but we're so glad you're here. And you can submit emails to us for questions that we will be answering on the show in future episodes. laughcryclub@gmail.com. Anything else, my lovely friends here?
I just want to quantify Miles did not cringe at us unless we talked about Gen X. So he'll only be cringing when he hears that today. We just need some work. So follow us on TikTok to see the better version of our social media that needed work. And thank you. Rebecca, do you want to say goodbye?
Yeah. Thanks for being here. This was fun again. Welcome to the club, and can't wait to see you all next week.
Welcome to the club. We're going to get stickers. We're going to get badges. We're going to get cookies.
We
We're going to
are.
get all the things. All right. See you guys.